Here at NFT Fest with the man, the myth, the legend, Rony from Vales Accountants. GM, bro.
GM, thank you for having us.
Thanks for coming.
How often do you say GM?
First time probably this year.
He's a GM virgin. Rony, you're an accountant, and a good one, a great one. And I guess, what's the biggest myth do you think people face in Web3? I mean, it gets quite complicated with tax and all this stuff because there's all these new things, with crypto and NFTs and regulation and all this sort of stuff. What do you think the biggest myth is that people believe in?
Well, from a business perspective, most Web3 projects run thinking that they don't need any prior business acumen. They just look at their treasury, that's their funds. There's actually no initiative to go, okay, I need my financials, I need to set up KPIs, I need to measure my performance. I see projects raise millions and then they blow it all before their runway's meant to end, and then there's no strategy or the timing's bad to raise again. And this is the big issue. Why would you drop $500,000 on marketing if you don't have a clear direction of what you want out of it? And that's the thing. If you don't measure, okay, I didn't acquire 10 customers from that $500,000, most of them go ahead and spend another $500,000 next month thinking of gaining traction. There's just wrong metrics, wrong way, and at the end, I don't blame them. Crypto data is very hard to reconcile. So they just see the chaos, they ignore it. But that's why most of them are not succeeding, because they're ignoring that main thing. And when it comes to individuals, it's the same thing. If you don't know your tax payable in May or June before it hits the end of the financial year, then you're not a true investor. You're just being ignorant. Yeah, I'm up 50%, but is your tax going to wipe off another 30%? You're not being aware of it. It's just very silly mistakes I see all the time.
What are the best accounting practices you see your best clients use?
Setting up and automating on software. So for business enterprise, I use Cryptio a lot because you can automate it. It pushes through zero. You can set up rules and how you want it. For individuals, Crypto Tax Calculator is my way to go and push clients towards, just because it has all the functions for staking, DeFi protocols, everything. You can stay on top of it. But yeah, most of them they just need to give a fuck about it. Yes, they need to. Most of them just ignore it. Yeah.
Can we tell him to shut up?
I'll do that.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Ivan. Cool. What's some other good? John, fire another one.
Are we going to start this again, or what do you want to do?
No, keep flowing. Keep rolling. We can end it.
You mentioned... Oh, I've got to get this one right. All right. What are your thoughts on doxed versus undoxed people building in the cryptocurrency space?
Look, when I first started in this space, being undoxed was a very cool, popular thing to do. But as soon as there's some market turmoil, you see the trust of customers go crazy. So, for example, I had an NFT project. They refused to dox themselves. And as every other NFT project that was at the same level was raising from some big people, were bringing in heaps of sponsors and all that, remaining undoxed was a hindrance. Yeah, you can have a Twitter handle and everything, but if you're not actually putting yourself out there, people are always going to be thinking it's a potential rug pull. At any time they can pull the funds out. So I think it's very important, especially if you're very serious about building in this space, your face should be up there. You should be promoting that, here I am, this is the one in the background. Anything happens or there's no transparency, you know who to blame.
Rony, what's your favourite thing about Web3?
Look, to be honest, I love the community. From an accounting perspective, I love the work because it's very different, and accounting is very boring. It's gone from double entry accounting to triple entry accounting, and there's so much different nuances in it that it's amazing. But working with these people, they're just so passionate. I end up having business meetings and it ends up going an hour over because we're talking about what's happening in the space, what they're doing, what they've seen. And it's interesting because everyone I speak to has a different opinion on their favorite tokens, their favorite NFT project. It's just, it's a very broad thing in this space, and I love it. And obviously you guys are pretty cool.
There it is. I'll give you that $20 later, mate.
What's your biggest ick about Web3? What would you improve if you could?
Yeah, look, I don't know much about the tech, so it is going to be from an accounting tax perspective. But my biggest ick is a lot of people look for someone to blame when it doesn't go right, when really it's the founders that are to blame if their project doesn't go right. if you do not have a solid business plan or not adaptable as fast, because look, I understand every founder is at 1,000% in this space, but that means there's so much room for mistakes throughout that. And that's my biggest ick, that at the end, if you really want to succeed in this space, but you're tight about getting an accountant or a lawyer, then you probably won't do well in the future.
Beautiful. What's one piece of advice you could give someone entering the space?
Pay your taxes.
Look, pay your taxes is one of them, but set up everything properly from the start. I'm talking if you're an individual, you need to look at your situation. I work full time. My wife doesn't. I can use a family trust to help this. From a business perspective, I'm set up in Australia, but 95% of my customers are in the US. Why would I set up in Australia? You know, asking these simple questions and setting up everything from the start will just be a lot easier as you grow, because once you hit that growth level, it's chaos to unwind, chaos. So that'd be my advice. Just get proper advice before you go into it, and actually get people to be critical of you, because a lot of people think, I've got this idea, it's brilliant, but no one actually goes, please tell me, what do you think of my idea? Honest opinion, do you think it's trash? So I think that's important, because when I onboard clients, I usually see a lot of mistakes from everyone. I'll tell them, this is a mistake, this is a mistake, and I'm like, please speak to this person, because they'll critique your project and I know they're working on something similar. Yeah.
I love it. I'm going to drop a nuclear bomb of a question. FTX, is anyone ever seeing their money back?
Conflict of interest, I can't talk about that.
Oh, there we go.
NFT APAC, connect, create, collaborate.
Boom.
Boom. We're live here at NFT Fest. We've got the wonderful Z here. Z, how are you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me. Thanks for pulling me into this.
That's all good. That's what we do. We pull people on. So we just got a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
What are you most bullish on in Web3?
The people in Web3, I would
us,
say.
or?
The people like you guys, bringing, creating content. Also the technology. I think I got into this through the hype of NFTs and being like, oh my God, I can buy something and I can flip it. But then it was really, I guess, the tech and the blockchain and the opportunities to give creators, I guess, a lot of ownership. That really drew me and attracted me and kept me in the space. Yeah.
Z, you've worked on some really big projects, working at West Coast NFT and now Paprika.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of stuff sort of, happen in the bear market recently, like these NFT PFP projects sort of dying. What do you think the next sort of like stage is for NFT projects? In terms of like innovation, growth, what do you think that next sort of wave is?
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking to a lot of founders about creating different revenue models and revenue streams to make sure that it's not only that they've minted a project and that they're sustaining a community, right? But also, how do you grow this into a brand? So even when we were launching the first NFT collections, we were really approaching them like launching a startup. How do you build the rails to keep the train going, especially when the times get tough. So I think a lot of projects have been looking at expanding into consultation or advisory for different projects because they've already launched a collection. So that's sort of what we did with Paprika. We launched collections with West Coast. Now we've got the experience to help others in the space. So let's do a business model that goes towards that. And then I guess a lot of people have been exploring merchandise. More people have exploring how do you give back to your community, to your holders. There's a lot of staking, rewards, gaming. Everyone's sort of exploring those things. And to be honest, I think we're all still getting through the weeds, what is that next thing that we can tap into? But ultimately, you got to know your audience, and you're going to create things that are fun, because that's what's ultimately going to keep people invested in and supporting. I said this way back in the day, it's about creating a lifestyle brand that people want to support until the end of their days, through when you're here now, until you're much older, you're still supporting the brand. That's how brands grow.
Love it. In terms of the gaming, because you mentioned about making NFTs fun, what do you think about Immutable and some of those gaming kind of projects in the space? Do you think they're here to last, or is it just a bit of a fad?
Well, gosh, that is a bit of a dilemma, knowing that my husband works at Immutable. But they're doing some really incredible stuff. I think what you see on the outside, you usually don't see how hard they're working internally on some of their on like expanding their platform and their protocols so that other people can use them as well. I think we're starting to see maybe Illuvium as well, working closely with Immutable, and I've seen some of their graphics. It looks like we are maybe getting some better games and some better UI and UX. So I guess time will tell. I'm not really a gamer myself, but I have to say, as long as it's fun, right? I think, I'm a holder of Chimpers, and part of it was just they launched this game and it was quite fun because we could battle each other, and they added some really cool graphics. And then, I guess as long as it's fun, then the games make sense. But I think there's a lot of development to be done in that area for sure.
2023 is coming up. Mm-hmm. What's next for you and I guess Paprika?
I think it's just constantly learning about what's new. Like I was learning about account abstraction the other day. I think this space, you wake up every day and you feel dumber and dumber because there's just so much to learn. So I think I've definitely in this bear market been focusing more on the learning, like what can we do, I guess beyond the hype, beyond the PFPs and stuff like that. Internally, we're working on creating tools to better help artists migrate from like Web 2 to Web 3 and make their lives easier as well. So just focusing on a lot of building, and hopefully, next year launch more awesome stuff.
I love it. If you could change one thing about the NFT space, what would it be?
I would change one thing. I would want people to be more honest. Maybe I feel like my Twitter sometimes, and maybe this is a bit of an unpopular take, but my Twitter sometimes just has the same thing, whether it's the same people engagement farming, writing the same threads. Sometimes I see threads on Twitter that are copied and I plagiarized on LinkedIn or something by some other people, and we see this so often, and it's like, okay, I need the algorithms to maybe get a little bit better on Twitter or on LinkedIn and show me the things that I want to see, which is some more threads about knowledge sharing. I don't know that was specific to NFTs, but
more honesty in the space. I love it.
Yeah. NFT APAC, connect, create, collaborate.
Boom. We're here at NFT Fest with a good friend of ours, Boot from Paprika, GM.
GM, how you going?
Good, man. How many times a day do you think you say GM?
Twice for engagement. So I hit up the Australian scene in the morning, and then I hit up my American friends at night.
What does GM mean to you?
Engagement farming, basically.
Getting those likes and replies.
Well, you've got to find like a cool Pepe picture with a guy like drinking coffee, and then like GM. Like you got to like have
meme culture, right?
Well, you need to put some memes out there because memes make you look like you know what you're talking about. In the absence of having anything to say, just put a meme up there with a GM, and you're good to go.
I think just leading into that, how important is meme culture in this space?
Well, I think we're kind of at, I guess, a critical juncture at this point where the dollar cost of NFTs or the dollar value of NFTs is no longer like, there's no parity anymore, right? Or it's decoupled, right? So I'm not looking at NFTs that I hold now going, okay, price is going to go up, right? The prices go up days is over. So it's like people are having to look at their NFTs now and be like, okay, what value is there besides price? And for a lot, there is none. But for others, there is a community and culture built around that, which is, I guess, piggybacked or steamrolled off meme culture, especially within the NFT space, right? So if you look at, I guess, the history of the NFT space for at least the last 2 years, if we can call that history, right? Things start off for art's sake, which is like digital collectibles, digital artists doing art, which is basically put on the blockchain so they can sell their work, right? We go through to kind of like the whitelist meta, and now we're kind of in memes for meme's sake, because there's not as much money to be made anymore. There has to be some guiding principle or some sort of glue that's tying the community together. And in the absence of profit, when everybody's down, you want to laugh, you want to vibe with people, you want to just, I guess, connect, and memes are a way to do that. So you see projects like, okay, there's a disproportionate I guess, breakthrough point of certain projects like Sappy Seals and MFers on Twitter. But they don't have high floor prices, but they have really good engagement because they've, I guess, seized the memes of production, which would be like an MF term, and basically gone out there, been public, been building, been shit posting, just been fun throughout, I guess, the kind of bear market vibe, not creating this form of like, oh, price go up, like we're a value-driven project. It's like, nah, fuck the price. Oh, can I swear? Is that,
Yeah.
Okay.
Fuck
Swear as
this.
much as you want.
Well, fuck the price, right? Like, we're about the vibe. And projects that build on vibe are the ones that are going to outlast, I think. Yeah.
I love it. So in terms of this whole Aussie follow Aussie Twitter momentum that we did, you launched a project called Oz on Chain and you turned that out really quick.
Yeah.
Walk us through your details because that was a free mint with no royalties either. So why would you put yourself through that and launch a project with zero intentions of profiting?
Basically because I saw a guy talking about how he wanted to make money off the Australian scene. So I'm like, if I put a project out with Z and with Cloud and with Rowdy here as well, if we put a project out that can beat them to market, then they're kind of fucked. And then we can be like, we were first. But because I didn't want people to capitalize on the Australian space and try to extract liquidity from that, right? So like, power to them if they're going to try to do that. But having the tools and the tech to put it out first and try and, I guess, connect the people that we know are good actors in the space and put our best foot forward is, I guess, why we kind of collectively did that. Because I think we stand for, like, I guess, again, going back to the previous conversation, we're about the vibes versus the liquidity extraction.
I love it.
Yeah.
Where did you come up with the name Paprika for your agency?
So basically, me and Z were talking in a Discord about what good names would be, and Z just suggested it, and I was like, "Yep, that sounds good," and then we just signed off on that one.
So she was in a kitchen and she just saw it on a shelf and was like, "Yep, Paprika."
Well, this is the kind of stuff that I suck at, so I'm just like, this is a Z delegation task. And then I know she's good at branding, and besides, I came up with Come and Z though, so that's a great branding point for me. But that's her wheelhouse, and I give her full control over coming up with the branding and the naming.
Beautiful. Final question. What's your favorite DApp or protocol and why?
Ooh, maybe Uniswap? Can I say Uniswap?
Yeah.
Because it's the only one I really know how to use.
Yeah.
And basically.
And what is Uniswap and how does it work? What do you like about it?
Uniswap a decentralized exchange where you can convert, your ETH bags to USDC in a bear market and send it through Tornado Cash? Well, I don't know.
I love how you said that as a question, but Manifold, like I heard about Manifold through you. What are your thoughts on that protocol?
So Manifold, I think, is doing some interesting stuff. I know that Richard is a co-investor of West Coast, which me and Z are a part of as well. And so their goal is to become kind of like the Google of Web3. So they're putting out a suite of products basically that are self-service tools for artists to kind of be empowered to kind of create without the need to have a developer or, I guess, a team behind them. So I'm really bullish on what they're doing. They've put out, that self-service contract minting pipeline. They've now got a front-end tool in that as well. They're bringing a whole new bunch of apps into the scene, dApps into the scene for future use for artists to basically, again, take control of their destiny and put projects to market. So I'm really bullish on what they're doing in this space. They're VC funded, so they don't need to be about cash. They've never been about dollars. Everybody who works for the company is a previous successful founder from another company, so they don't need to worry about money, right? So they're there for a vision and a vision alone, and I think if you're going to back anyone in the space, you should back Manifold.
I love it.
NFT APAC, connect, create, collaborate.
We're here at NFT Fest with the amazing Jie from Chainsaw.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So tell us a bit about Chainsaw. I know we've seen a lot of sort of mainstream publications. They don't really touch too much on, I guess, sort of, the Web3 scene, but it's really good to see you guys taking action and now an Australian Web3, I guess, public media outlet publication.
Yeah, so it's really exciting. So the Chainsaw is Australia's first Web3 publication, launched under the Pedestrian Group. So with Pedestrian Group, we have other media titles, including Vice Australia, Refinery 29, Kotaku, Gizmodo, and obviously Pedestrian. So the Chainsaw to us, is the Pedestrian Group's very first, Web3 focused publication.
What do you love most about this space?
What do I love most? As a social media gal for the Chainsaw, I would say the people in the space. Everyone's very welcoming. Everyone's really enthusiastic about the space, optimistic, and everyone's really funny.
What would you improve about the space?
Pardon?
What would you improve about the space? And you can say FTX if you want to.
FTX.
I just gave you that one.
Thank you.
What do you think the sentiment on Twitter? Because I know you run the Twitter and the Instagram accounts for Chainsaw. What do you think the sentiment is in the market right now? Are people still showing up? Have they kind of dropped off, lost motivation? What's the current sentiment on Twitter?
The current sentiment on Twitter, it's been like 2 weeks since the FTX fallout. So the sentiment has been, obviously people are scared, frustrated, depressed, but as we see from the turnout from NFT Fest today, there's still a lot of people who are very optimistic, especially builders and founders in the space. So I feel that there's a reasonable mix of both, but personally, I'm still optimistic.
It's day 2 here at NFT Fest. We had obviously yesterday and now today. What was the highlights, I guess, of day 1?
For me, it was Betty from Dead Fellas and Carly Riley from Overpriced JPEGs kicking off the festival, because I personally really love insights from both of them. You know, they're pioneers, women-led founders. So what they said at NFT Fest yesterday really resonated with me.
Good. I love it. What do you think will kick off the next bull run?
Oh, that's difficult. If I knew, would I still be here?
No one saw NFTs coming, you know?
Would I still be here? I have to pass on that one.
Oh, you don't think it'll be like... I'll give you some ideas. Is it going to be like GameFi and people gaming? Or like, is it going to be DAOs and people voting and leading protocols?
Personally, maybe NFTs. Maybe. Not financial
NFTs
advice, though.
Back for round 2.
That disclaimer in there. All right. We see a lot of hype words in the space. We've got our own sort of... the GMs, the WAGMIs, NGMIs, all that sort of stuff. How important is it to have that in this culture? And I guess sort of like, what does it mean to the space?
I think for a social media person like me, I feel like it's like one of the foundations of the space, having GM, WAGMI, not gonna make it. These are sort of like signature lingo, right? To sort of signal from one person to the other that I know what's going on. I'm in the community, and yeah, I'm here to have fun and also like contribute at the same time.
Cool. You've got an option. You either sell your kidney for a Bored Ape, or you keep the kidney for a Bored Ape. What do you do?
I'll keep my kidney.
You're gonna keep it. It's a gold Bored Ape.
You still have 2 kidneys.
It's a gold Bored Ape.
It's a gold Bored Ape. Oh, I have 2 kidneys.
And you can always sell the Bored Ape, the gold Bored Ape, and then buy another kidney off the black market if you want to.
Oh God, I'll still keep my kidney. They're precious. Yeah.
There you go. If you could choose between a Bored Ape and a CryptoPunk, which one would you have and why?
A Bored Ape.
Even though the CryptoPunk's worth more at this time?
Yeah, a Bored Ape, I feel that because, oh my gosh, it's going to be controversial, but Bored Apes right now, they're already like sort of like the poster child for the NFT space. So obviously, Bored Apes. I'm so sorry. NFT APAC, connect, create, collaborate.
Beautiful. Done.
Cool, we're here at NFT Fest with Damien from PUMLx, GM.
GM.
How often do you say GM?
Quite a lot, not as much as I should. I joined one of those Twitter GM groups, and then everyone gets you to GM every day, and then I couldn't keep it up.
There was a GM app where everyone all over the world was sending GM. It shut down last year, but it was a pretty fun kind of experiment thing.
Yeah, not good as a founder when you're trying to build a lot of stuff to spend that much time GMing.
There's a lot of distractions in this space, but you were incredibly early to the space back in
2012.
2012? Tell us a bit about that, because it was a couple of years after Bitcoin was like born. How did you get into it, and what gave you the conviction to keep building to where you are today?
Well, yeah, it was originally one of my engineers. So I was at Virgin running a small team, and he started talking about Bitcoin, and I just loved it. It was super cool. So I got a miner. I was buying Bitcoin from eBay in the UK. You just send some eBay cash across and get some BTC in return. So it was pretty fun in those early days, but really no one knew what I was talking about. There was literally no one that I had in my friend group or my community that really understood Bitcoin. So it was hard in those days. Like in hindsight, you think, well, I should have stacked a lot more, but it was sort of like one of those things that I probably didn't stick with until, Ethereum came out, and that's when things sort of started to change, because I love the idea of running code and incentivized networks, and that's where I was like, well, this is really going to go places after Ethereum.
Beautiful. You've now, launched PUMLx. How did you come up with the name Pummel?
It's a good question. I had like this, my first startup actually when I was in the UK, and I was working all day and then working at night, drinking Red Bull, and I sort of turned into this fat, skinny man, which I'm sort of falling back into now. But I got pretty unhealthy, and as a young guy doing a startup, you just don't have much time for it. And so I eventually had to do something. I started going to the gym, and then me and our mates were like, oh, let's pummel at the gym, go hard. And that's where it originally came from. So it's the idea of like working out, doing a full-on workout. And yeah, that's sort of what we want to build our community around, people who love working out, being healthy, but they also want to own their own data, and they want to make some money for moving.
I love it. So when you think of cryptocurrency and NFT people, the last thing you think of is going outside, touching grass and moving around. What do you think about the physical health of the people in the cryptocurrency markets? Are people active? Are they, exercising each day, or are they just generally behind screens and on Twitter Spaces all day?
Well, I think for me personally, that was me as well. But sometimes you need motivation. You need a group of people. And we talk a lot about you need social pressure. So it's like your friends and family are trying to get you to do something. Or, we started tackling corporate wellness first. That was our first sort of step into the revenue space. And when you got your other employees doing, say, a step challenge or something like that, you're able to, I suppose, make behavioral changes. And so we're all susceptible to sitting on the couch, looking at charts all day. We know we should be exercising, but you need something to sort of get you to that next level.
I love it. Switching it up as well, you got some nice NFTs as well. So you've got a mutant ape and a few others as well. Pudgy Penguin, I think. Walk us through, what are you bullish on in the NFT space?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think I've been traveling quite a bit since the borders have opened, and it's been great to see a lot of like NFT NYC was just amazing with Ape Fest, but you started to see a pattern between the projects that are really high quality, clearly not rugs. Invisible Friends were there. We went to some pretty sick parties with Dead Fellas. I'm a big fan of Dead Fellas being a local Australian project as well, but I think you start to get an idea of the quality projects by seeing the IRL events. I'd love to see more of that in the next year.
What are you most excited about in Web3?
Well, it sounds a bit boring, but it's ownership. I still don't think people understand how important it is. This is the future of Web3. It's not just, a PFP. It is around owning your own data, owning your own authentication, and essentially owning your own cash, your digital currency, every digital asset. And that's changing behavior like Web 1 to Web 2 did. You know what I mean? It's going to be a huge thing. It's going to take a while. And I think people won't know it's happening until it's happened.
What's one thing you would improve about Web3?
Well, I suppose it's the bad actors. We don't need to talk much about FTX, but single-handedly they've crushed a whole bunch of like projects that are about to launch, and the projects that are launched are having to pick up the pieces for these bad actors, and it just gives people a bad reputation for the whole industry when you have these bad actors. NFT APAC, connect, create, collaborate.
Beautiful.
Done.
Here at NFT Fest with my boy, sometimes funny, mostly serious, but always clouded GM.
GM, bro.
So, I guess you're like the king of GMs. How many times do you think you say GM on Twitter?
One tweet a day, but replies probably 100 a day.
What's it like? I see you replying to the same people, GM, every single day. Do they ever take notice, or are you just always that reply guy?
It's honestly random because I scroll through and I just randomly hit on GMs to reply to. I think maybe the algorithm probably prioritizes some people that I would be replying to, but yeah, it's definitely random for me.
What does GM mean for you?
I think it's turned into a cultural thing in the space where it helps people show up, and yeah, it's just it's a good way to connect. Actually, you meet a lot of people through GMs. It's an easy way to connect with people online as well.
What are you most excited about in the Australian scene for Web3?
Good question. I'm honestly, I think this was an amazing event. This is by far the biggest NFT or crypto thing that I've personally gone to, And I'm excited to see where it goes. I think the in real life events is the most exciting for me. That's the most utility for me.
It's because you're finally leaving Twitter, putting your phone down and meeting some people IRL.
I get to shitpost in real life. That's why.
Can we expect a live Push and E performance today when you speak?
Definitely not on stage, no.
You're known for, I guess, your out of the box comments, your tweets. I mean, I think the number one tweet from all time, there was, you were online 28 minutes ago. She was online 6 minutes ago. 28 minus 6 equals 4 to streets. Mate, you're very quirky. How do you come up with this stuff?
So yeah, I do a lot of out of pocket shit. And as my following grows, I question more and more if I should continue putting out my deranged thoughts that I just put out. But yeah, they do just come out of nowhere. I don't know. A lot from just random conversations I might have in DMs or in real life, and then something funny spurs out, and I'll tweet it out basically.
I love it. What's it like going on stage for the first time? Well, you've spoken at NFT Sydney event before, but that was blackout. That was in the dark and no one had phones. What's it like getting in front of your largest audience yet? And I know you speak in Twitter Spaces pretty much every single day, but this is like a live audience.
Yeah. So I'm decently good at public speaking. You're right. The main thing for me that I'm a little bit anxious about is there is an extremely high possibility of getting doxxed for the first time. It's very important for me and my brand to be pseudo-anonymous online. I do feel like it's become such an entrenched part of my brand. I feel like even some people, some of like the people I interact with on Twitter and my followers and whatnot, prefer me to be undoxed almost. But yeah, it's definitely there. I'm going to try my best. I'm going to give a nice disclaimer at the beginning to respect my privacy. But I'm excited. I'm very positive about it. I'm excited. The topic that I'm covering is quite important to me too. I'm going to be touching on crypto culture and Web3 culture, and I'm really going to bring it back to the things that brought me into the space, which was around the kind of revolution that crypto can be, both economically, socially, and politically.
Beautiful. What do you love the most about Web3?
Pause.
The entertainment. It is a fucking movie. You don't need a Netflix subscription. Twitter Blue, $8 a month is worth
$11.50 in Australian dollars.
Oh, I don't use AUD. But no, that subscription is your entertainment subscription. Really, like Twitter is insane. The entertainment you get, the content, and the fun you have on there, and the people you meet is just so invaluable. It's crazy.
I love it. Who's the most exciting person you've met at NFT Fest so far?
I was excited to meet him before I got down here, and I was fortunate enough, and I was so grateful to have a very nice extended conversation with him for like 30 minutes to an hour. Anthony Sasal. I'm a big fan of his because I was involved with Ethereum in the early days when it was purely through subreddits like ETH Trader and ETH Finance, and he was one of the main guys that I would interact with on those posts. I wasn't as clouded back then, so he wouldn't know. Him, DC, like Bankless guys, but it was great meeting him. Definitely him. NFT APAC, connect, create, collaborate.
Boom.
Here at NFT Fest with a good old friend of mine, Mikey. He's full of good ideas, GM.
Thanks for having me, Rowdy.
Mate, tell us, good ideas. It's a creative studio agency. What sort of good ideas have you got coming up at the moment? Have you been working on, and what does 23 look like for you guys?
Yeah, so it's quite funny. We actually started as an NFT project back in February that we never launched, and that developed into a full creative studio. So like primary illustration, photography, and video. Most of our clients now are all Web 2 clients, which is really cool for me because I've been in the Web 3 space for so long. I'm seeing all the gaps in the creative street culture in the world already, like how that can migrate to Web 3 now. So yeah, most of our clients are Web 2. We deal with like bars, restaurants. We're doing a street ball tournament in early Feb, so we do like all the design for the uniform, their logo, illustrations, and mascots. So like what I'm seeing now is a big gap in the Web3 and NFT space is merch, and that's like a big thing for me because that's our specialty. That's what we do for our Web2 clients. We create shirts, hoodies, whatever it is for them to sell from their cafes and then to their community. And it's an awesome feeling when you're walking down the street, seeing someone in a burger t-shirt that you drew up. So to be able to migrate that to the Web3 space, that's what my goal is for 2023, to start getting in with some.
And what are the challenges of onboarding like the Web 2 to Web 3, and how are you overcoming that with good ideas?
Yeah, so I think the biggest challenge right now that I'm finding personally is, I wouldn't know if you'd call it stigma, but there's something about the word NFT, or that feeling that we find like a lot of our current followers and fan base, like it kind of puts them off a little bit. So we're trying to find ways, because the thing behind NFTs, like let's even talk about like the chips that you can put in the shirts that we've kind of talked about, where essentially the same thing, like you can buy a shirt, have the RFID, what is it, NFC, or so you can have the NFC chip in and have that linked back to the owner. You can do a drop where it's like, all right, exclusive drop just for anyone that held this staple t-shirt. Like that itself is exactly what NFTs are. So trying to find ways to bring that into our current following without necessarily being like, this is an NFT, like have them get into it first and then realize after, oh shit, like we're actually already in the space.
What do you love most about, I guess, Web3?
I love most is, especially because I come from a corporate background where it was very me against you. Like my whole upbringing from studying to the first few jobs I worked was, there's no sense of how can we help each other if I don't get something in return. But as soon as you come to events like this, like everyone that I network with, it's not how can I use you to help me, it's how can we do something together and both become better from it and both grow.
Sense of community, right? Just working together.
Yeah. I think that's like, it's like that tall poppy syndrome where it used to be, it was like you just had to be the highest, where it's not. We realize now there's an abundance for everyone, so it makes sense that we can just work together and just grab it.
Love it. You're a fellow mutant ape holder as well. What are you bullish on within the Yuga ecosystem?
What am I bullish on? I'll be honest, I stepped away from the space a little bit, so I'm not completely up to date on what they're doing. But for me, the thing I've loved most about holding the ape is the network. And once again, we talk about community, what that's been able to build for me. I have access now to a group chat of 75 other holders in Australia. Anytime I need something, like for example, we had an issue with a client we did some like product design for, and we'd never done licensing for our products before because usually it's small quantity. This one's going to be quite large quantity. Chucked in the ape chat, hey, does anyone know anything about IP laws or trademarking? Had 3 guys hit me up within an hour. They're giving me phone calls like 8, 9 o'clock at night, just chatting me through it. I wouldn't have been able to get that, like that instant access to people of like such a caliber that do have that knowledge and willing to share it without it. So that's the biggest thing about the ape for me.
Beautiful. If you've all right, let's think about this, right? Would you sell one of your kidneys for a gold bored ape? Yes,
for gold, absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
not.
You got 2? You want to trade one?
My kidneys are fine inside me. I don't need a gold ape that much.
What NFT do you need and you're willing to sell your kidney for? Like, is it a punk? Is it a...
I'm telling you right now, there's not a single NFT that I'll be willing to sell a kidney for. But if I
not even a Goblin Town?
No, I'm not even.
Awesome, bro.
NFT APAC. Connect, create, collaborate.
Beautiful.
Did I get it right?
We've got the man, the myth, the legend here at NFT Fest. Yuuraj Singh, how you doing today, my man?
Oh, mate, absolutely fantastic. I see both your beautiful faces and I'm just lit up.
Oh, so. I love it so much. So we're in the presence of the president. What is it like to be the president of the UNCB, and what does UNCB stand for?
Oh, mate, it's hectic. You got to do so much stuff, you know. You get to leverage so many opportunities. So UNCB stands for University Network for Crypto and Blockchain. Basically, we brought our UNSW and UCID crypto societies, formed into one, and we're looking to expand a lot more. Obviously, community groups and that. There's no essential NFT Melb, you beautiful NFT APAC. This is really beautiful, by the way. I really want this shirt. But NFT SID. But yeah, that's that. So.
No, I love it. So you were in Singapore just a few weeks ago for presenting a paper on blockchain in business. Walk us through those details, man.
Yeah, awesome opportunity. So basically, I was a research assistant for UNSW. I still am. I actually recently got onboarded again. So we're going to
Congratulations on getting a job in this market.
Thank you very much. Although I get $3 an hour, but don't post this to UNSW. Yeah, man, it's awesome. Basically, it was about enterprise use cases for blockchain, going beyond the confines of crypto. Basically, de-unraveling like a lot of myths. I think that's one thing we really focused on is is that there were 4 subsections. So the first one was payments and financial services, digital media and entertainment, supply chain management, and digital identity. And we just kind of elaborate on that stuff. We interviewed, I think, 13, 14 firms that were based in Asia Pacific and how they've sort of implemented blockchain within their enterprise and what it sort of meant for them. So I'll give one example. So Zulik Pharma, they're like a pharmaceutical supply chain company, and they've found out that according to the World Health Organization, 1 in every 10th drug in the world is fake.
Wow.
Yeah. So they were like, we want to use blockchain to actually make it more transparent, more like end-to-end traceability makes it a lot better. And it's been really successful. Although there are some implementation costs, it's not cheap per se, but so there's that.
What do you love most about this space? What excites you?
What gets you up in the morning?
Oh, mate, community. Straight out. Like the fact that there's so much creativity that when you walk out, you always hear a new idea, which incentivizes you to go further. Like for me, like I'm part of like the UNCB, right? So when I hear someone's idea, I'm like, how can we make this an education initiative, or how can you make this interoperable with so many other things? So like you have an idea and then you have the ability to scale because other people want to scale as well, right? So it's just community, collaborative. People want to do it together. It's all about partnerships. It's like scaling together, growing together, and becoming something amazing. That's what I love.
What are you most excited about for the future of, I guess, Web3?
The future of Web3. Web2 firms dying now. I'm kidding. But no, man. I think a big one is going to be automatic, like subconsciously people de-raveling myths about Web3. So a big one is NFTs, right? How it's just JPEGs. So I think a big one, like this is my opinion, I think what's going to happen is firms are going to implement blockchain without telling people they are, right? So at that point, when, for example, concert tickets, like, you might buy them and then things get 10 times easier. It's much more fast, smoother, etc. And then eventually someone's like, some random person 4 years down the line is going to be like, why is this so much better? Like, I didn't get it. Like, everything's just more seamless and just cheap now. And then they look at it, they're like, NFTs. Am I allowed to swear on this?
Yeah, fucking oath.
Oh, mate, fucking NFTs. Like, this is the best thing in the world, man. Like, it's like so much cheaper. Like, everything is just more instantaneous. Like, I used to hate this shit like 4 years ago. And like now it's basically revolutionized how content is like, what's it called, consumed. That's just one area, right? And there's so many other things that are going to happen as well. So,
what's your favorite dApp or protocol?
UNCB DAO? No, I'm kidding. My favorite dApp or protocol. Oh, that's a hard one.
You went hard on ENS names. Is it ENS?
You know what? Actually, that's a good one. I'm stealing that. ENS. ENS is actually, I really like it because it just simplifies everything.
What's the best ENS you've got?
UNCB.eth.
Oh, there it is.
Everything's UNCB today.
Exactly.
I do have to say, right, I've got a question for you.
Yes.
If you were new in the space, right? Say someone's like 18 years old, fresh out of high school.
Yep.
What advice would you give them about Web3 and NFTs? Where do they get started? What do they do?
In my opinion, it would be best to go to community events and like really absorb as much information as you can from people, because it's sort of like you're interrogating, interviewing them. And I think that's the best part about it, because whatever sort of industry they come from, where they come from, you can sort of get a gauge of how they like operate, and subconsciously you start to learn information from that, right? So I started learning about NFTs and I learned XYZ. I didn't know that. That's very interesting. Then you go to another person, you apply that knowledge, and then you sort of level up on it. So me, I like to do a lot of reading. So that's how I learned it. Like I just read, and that's how I learned. But then when I started going to community groups, like all these events, networking and like panels and stuff, subconsciously I started to learn a lot of little intricacies that sort of built up my knowledge. And I was just like, now I'm at a point where I'm like, shit, nice. This is hectic. NFT APAC, connect, create, collaborate.
Boom, done. We're live here at NFT Fest. We've got David from Mooning. GM David, how are you doing today?
GM, good.
That's all good. Why is the market not mooning at the moment?
Oh, that's a great question. Maybe their belts are on too tight.
Yeah, we've seen a huge kind of, collapse in the crypto markets. It's been a pretty rough year, but you guys are building full steam ahead. Walk us through what Mooning does.
Yeah, for sure. So I've said this so many times, like just talking to people here, but at the end of the day, I think we're all working towards the same mission. And for us, the vision that we're working towards is to try to get mainstream adoption. How do we build and bring businesses into the space to show the world how they can leverage off this technology. You know, it's more than just the JPEGs. It's more than just as fun. And I love NFTs, as you know, beyond all that. But how do we actually get to a place where selfishly I can continue to work and build in this space for the next 3, 4, 5 decades?
What initialized you into this space? What was the movement that you wanted to be a part of? Like, what did you see or feel that brought you into it?
That's a great question, man. I think that for me, I just wanted to be part of the foundational pillars of, you know, just be here. You know, I think that's one of the things. Like, when we look back in 2-3 years' time, you know, who are the players and who are the people that I remember right now that are helping get to that place where, when suddenly NFTs are everywhere, or when Web3 is everywhere, and we had that mainstream adoption, who were the people that were part of that actually helped create that, or were doing things to work towards that? I think that's super important.
What was the spark for you to sell your agency and go all chips, all into Web3, despite the fact that crypto is down bad?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that all happened just before COVID, you know, and for me, it was my kids, actually, with that previous agency. So, you know, I'd been building that agency for the last 8 years, and for me, you know, the one thing I said to my wife back then was that it would kill me if the kids ever said to me, "Hey, you're working too much," and it happened. It happened, and I basically said, "Look, you know, it's time. I need to take a break, and we're gonna take some time off." COVID hit; we couldn't go anywhere, but I spent the next, you know, 2-3 years. COVID was a terrible moment in time for everyone, but for me personally and my family, it was an absolute blessing because we spent so much time together, and you know, for that I'm totally grateful and thankful. But it also gave me an opportunity as well to discover NFTs, like most people.
What type of projects are you looking forward to building most? Is it the gaming side? You're working with massive Web2 brands. Which type of projects, you know, spark up a little bit of fire in your belly?
Yeah, look, selfishly, I mean, I love fashion as well, so I love street culture. I want to try to figure out some way to actually work with Artifact one day, so actually work with them. I'm a big Azuki fan, so trust me, I'm working my way to try to figure out how to get some work with them. But you know, fundamentally, I think, you know, building IP is one avenue that I absolutely love. You know, I think that there's a lot to come from that, and what this space enables us to do with that is super exciting. I'm a big gamer as well, so you know, the GameFi side is super exciting. I want to see more adoption of that. I want to see how that can actually come to fruition. And you know, we think about World of Warcraft. You know, like I had so much gold at one point and I stopped playing. Like just things like that. How do we actually, when that actually happens, I'll be super excited to see, you know, that world come to fruition.
What do you think the Web3 landscape would look like in 5 years from now? So 2027.
That's a great question. It's going to be like, it's funny because like we talk about Web3 now and us discovering, you know, what the real potential is, but I don't even think we've scratched the surface. You know, the fact that it's all open source, it's composable, this is going to grow at an exponential rate. So where I see this in future, you know, I imagine it being a very integrated world, you know, and we're going to see, in my opinion, we're going to see this very clear line at the moment between digital and physical completely disappear. They're going to sort of become one. And I can't wait because I'm a technologist at heart.
On that, I met somebody today that had an NFC chip implanted into their hand. If that allowed you the ability to be frictionless within Web3, question is, would you get it yourself?
I'd do it, man.
Why would you do it?
Look, I'm all for it. You know, as long as I'm not going to die, like I'll do it. I'll be honest, I'll do it. You know, because I've got a Tesla as well, and I'm happy for that car to drive me. I'm a big adopter. Like I'll take that technology any day. Biochips, all for it. I mean, you know, brain augmentations. If it doesn't kill me, yeah, I'd give it a crack for real. Yeah.
I love it. Final question: what do you think the Web3 space could improve on? You can say FTX if you want.
Oh man, so many things. But look, you know, there's a lot of things that it can improve on, 100%, like, you know, and a lot of things that I'm sure a lot of people have said before as well. But you know, I want to look at this as a glass half full, because we know, like, we look at technology in the past, and you know, VR headsets were created in the 70s or 80s, and we didn't see that commercially as consumers until, what was it, early 2000s? They had decades to perfect that, or at least get that to a point, not perfect it, but get it to a point where it was okay for consumers to see. The difference is with open source is that it's all happening real time. So I'm, as a technologist and, as an engineer as well, I understand the cycles and I'm very forgiving about that, So I think that a lot of the challenges that we have with this technology, it's forgivable in my books. I think we're going to get better. I hate the fact that we've got so many opportunists. I hate it with a passion that we've got so many people trying to scam people, because it's not truly reflective of the space. It's reflective of human nature and the opportunist, not only just in crypto and NFTs and whatnot in blockchain, but it's just they're capitalizing off the knowledge gap. Any innovation will attract scammers and opportunists to come and take advantage of other people. And, the fact that we still get text messages and emails where people are trying to scam you, but as a community and society, we're actually more educated. We know that, what to look out for. I'd love it to get to a point where society and mainstream understand, okay, look, I'm not going to go near that because it's clearly a scam. So if that was an answer, that's
scammers, but they're bad people in this space.
100%. NFT Melb, connect, create, collaborate.
Boom.
DWebZ, D2, The Rock's little sister.
Your D1.
Shout out to you. Let's talk on this video that The Rock just dropped today. Tell me how you're feeling about it. It's come around full circle again. This is a multitude. It
just keeps going. The gift that keeps on giving.
It just gives away houses, giving away videos. How you feeling?
I'm feeling really good. He actually just checked on me this morning, and he just said, like, have you...
Provide a little bit of context. It's a 5-minute podcast.
Okay, 5-minute quick. Okay, I did a piece for The Rock and I hand-delivered it to him in New York, and he asked me to do it. It was for his latest movie, Black Adam, and it was just an unbelievable experience.
It was a movie.
The ripple effect that has had, and that's basically what I said. That's how I'm feeling about it this morning. Just the beautiful ripple effect that it's had has been unbelievable.
You talk on like the glass of half full, half empty.
Mm-hmm.
Yours is very full. Therefore, I feel like you're in the state of wanting to give to more people.
Yes.
How are you doing that within Web3?
That's a great question. I think it often gets hard because you try to give and then you're like, okay, I've got no time for myself, and you got to still focus on your business and focus on the other things. I think events or like moments like this does give back to the community in a sense that it really just makes people see that anything is possible. And I've began to realize, like, you might not be able to reply to every single DM or every single question, but for me, focusing on making a bigger impact like that and just doing bigger and better things in both spaces is making an impact. So, and then that's sort of, giving back to my community as well, and building that community and sort of giving to them when I can and when I have space and when I have energy in my cup, then I do. But it's definitely a balancing act.
So where to from here? So you mentioned giving back to community. Anything else? Any other plans for kind of the next few years? Or
online platform, which will be able to, I've been mentoring people one-on-one, and now I think an online platform is needed to be able to nurture artists and creatives, and that's anything from the business of art, murals, canvases, and also as an NFT creator as well. So
what do you think scares artists most about NFTs, blockchain?
I think all of the terminology in itself is just really terrifying. I also think that they perhaps there's a fear of like taking away from their craft, like because they're having to put that energy into learning about it, and you're not creating as much as you want to be. And also just the fear of putting you're putting your heart on your sleeve and putting your work out, and what if they say, what if no one buys it because they think that no one likes it? So there's I still hold that fear day in, day out. So
for
it's
anyone
real.
wanting to launch their first exhibition, and they're a bit on edge, and they may not have a lot of followers, they may have a lot of followers, they may have a large community, they may not. What would you say to that person that has a desire to, but they're really not sure how to go about it? They don't even know if they have the self-belief.
Firstly, I'd say don't wait 12 years to do it, because I only had my first exhibition after 12 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I was terrified, and I built it up to be this huge thing, and really it was the most powerful experience seeing, and that was a beautiful merge between Web 2 and Web 3 community and family. And I just think you build these things up in your head, and they're really not as bad as what you think they are. So I just say don't hold back, and just stay true to yourself. Make sure what you're putting out is authentic and it's you, and then I think you'll have a beautiful experience.
What is the biggest ick in the Web3 space that you have? The biggest ick, the thing that grinds your gears, keeps you up at night. You're like, geez, I can't believe
The biggest ick is I do feel like there's a lot of people who there's a lot of talk and no action. That's a bit of an ick at the moment, I think. Yeah.
And what's the best way to act? Like, should you take your time to plan? Should you just act and fail fast, fail often? Like, what do you think the way to do
No,
it is?
I think if you're actively taking action and acting, I mean, that's, you can take that out of context. I think just keep trying and keep pushing and being present. And I think if you do things too quickly, then you blow up and you don't. And know what your capabilities are as well, because I think everyone tries to go a million miles an hour and then burns out and blows up. I think if you're consistent and just keep that momentum at a pace that you know is practical for many years to come, then I think that's, yeah.
Love it.
NFT Melb, connect, create, collaborate.
Boom.
Awesome.